for, I'm going to call this agents of the state violence. The person who is alleged to have perpetrated what we're about to see. Well, not about to see. We're not showing actual footage of the incident, but we're going to look at a package about it. The person who is alleged to have perpetrated this, it was not themselves, not law enforcement, but semi-deputized by law enforcement, which is fucking weird. Also, trigger warning, like I said, for agents of the state violence, violence against women, and violence specifically against Black women, and violence specifically against poor people, because this involves an eviction. And Franny French sent me this story, and I looked at it and I said, cops ain't shit. and cop adjacents ain't shit. And people who act on behalf of the state, especially to attack poor people, especially ain't shit. So the story comes out of Philadelphia. Infinite content, this your neck of the woods. This actually is happening out in North Philly, out Girard. And we're going to pick it up from there. So a Black couple gets a knock on their door from a person associated with the landlord and tenants court, a writ officer, I believe they're called. And apparently the writ officer was attempting to serve eviction papers. Now, I'm a little unclear about the process here, because per this story, it does not indicate that the couple was set to be evicted that day. It just sounded as though they were just being served notice that an eviction was pending. But what ends up happening is some sort of altercation where the Black woman ended up shot by this writ officer, who is in fact not law enforcement at all. This is very confusing. Infinite content, you may have some insight upon this, but I wanted to check out this package from NBC Philadelphia. And again, I gave all the trigger warnings, but the good news is that the sister survived. So let me preface all of that by saying that she is alive, she is with us, she is hospitalized. But let's check out the story to get more of the details there.
Body camera video will certainly be part of the evidence. Now, in terms of the woman who was shot, she's in the hospital. She's critical, but we do hear that she is alert. She is talking. The husband, we spoke to him after he spent a long day talking to police. He's headed to the hospital now.
I seen when he rolled up and he jumped like this, bow, and shot her, just like that, boom.
Gabriel Plummer says his wife, 35-year-old Angel Davis, is in the hospital with a gunshot wound to the head. It happened here at the Girard Court Apartments, where Philadelphia police say a writ server, an employee of the landlord-tenant office, a private entity that carries out court orders, shot Davis while serving eviction paperwork.
He made contact with the residents inside, and at some point during that contact, a physical struggle ensued, at which time the writ server discharged his firearm, striking the female resident in her head one time.
He was trying to push the door open. We pushing it closed, because you're not coming in here. We don't know what's going on.
Allegedly, there was a knife involved. That's why he discharged his firearm, so we have to figure that out.
Gabriel Plummer claims that's not true and insists that crime scene evidence would show that he was trying to give back some personal items the worker dropped in the apartment during the encounter.
He dropped his badge, a watch, and some metal thing. I don't know what it was. I just picked it up. I'm giving to your property. I'm coming out. Can we talk? What's going on? Let me know what's going on. He had his drawing it like this. Drawing, get back, get back, get back, get back. He kept saying that.
That's when Plummer insists the worker fired his gun. Is that typical that a writ server, as you describe them, would be armed in these kinds of situations, serving an eviction notice?
So I can't speak as to what their policies and protocols are.
But the lieutenant says in Pennsylvania, the employee involved is legally allowed to carry a gun in his role enforcing the law with the proper certification. While investigators try to sort out exactly what led to the gunfire, Plummer is thinking of his wife.
So far, I heard she's doing okay.
And I spoke to the lieutenant involved in this case just a moment ago, and he said, yes, his police officers at the hospital, they are monitoring what's going on. She is alert, conscious, and they're continuing to watch her recovery. I did reach out to the landlord-tenant office, a lawyer who represents that private entity, but I have not heard back. I also reached out to the apartment complex here. They say they cannot comment on the shooting.
Y'all, I mean, there's a lot. There's quite a bit to unpack there. And it's wild to me. First of all, I know state to state shit is different, right? And it's always some extra different shit in the Commonwealth. So what's going on in Commonwealths? What's up, Pennsylvania? What's up, Kentucky? What's up, Massachusetts? What's up, Virginia? Y'all always got some wayward shit going on in the fucking Commonwealths. How in the fuck are these writ officers private entities as part of the landlord tenant court, but they're allowed to go around serving people eviction notices whilst armed? But they themselves are not law enforcement. Instead, they get some sort of certification. The fuck? What are you even saying? Like, how does this make any goddamn sense? Hold on, let me go to the chat to see if Infinite Content got to in Infinite Content and any other Philadelphia people can in Pennsylvania people can maybe shed some light on this shit because what? Excuse me? But okay, but I'm looking for answers in the chat if you guys have any insight. But just examining the facts as presented in that package. First of all, you saw the Philly police trying to go full propaganda, full criminalization of the shooting victim. Oh, well, allegedly there was a knife involved. But says who? What? What? What do you mean allegedly? That is very irresponsible for the police to even make such a statement without doing a complete investigation. The responsible thing to say was that there was some sort of altercation because apparently, yes, there was some sort of altercation, and I can't see in what world does this writ officer have permission to enter the private dwelling of these tenants. You can serve eviction papers, man. You can slide the bitches under the door. I mean, there's a myriad of ways to serve eviction papers that do not involve making entrance into the residence, right? And the fact that this man, this writ officer, according to what the husband said, and I believe the husband, by the way, that man came across as extremely credible, in my opinion. I recognize my people. I'm not saying I'm some sort of human lie detector and I can recognize when people are lying, but I feel as though I can tell when people are telling the truth in their method of delivery and the way that they recount the facts of the incident as they remember. That gentleman came across to me as extremely credible, and I found him to be truthful. But as he said, they were trying to push him out of the door. Why was this man aggressively trying to make entrance into their house? And I believe the husband when he said he was just trying to return the man's items to him. I don't know if there were children in the house. I don't know what the situation was. But I can't see any justifiable, rational, reasonable excuse or explanation or how this writ officer can claim that they were in fear of their life for a gun to come out and him to shoot at this woman. It is a miracle that she is alive. It's a miracle that she has survived a gunshot wound to the head. And for her to be apparently in as good a shape as she is, considering her injury, alert, up talking, it's a miracle. Miraculous. But I'm not clear on the likelihood of whether or not this writ officer will be charged. Because now I'm unclear as to the level of actual law enforcement powers that they have. So if they're cleared to carry guns in the course of doing their job, but they themselves are not police officers, they are in fact contracted private workers. And for the police spokesperson to not know what the policies are, you don't know what the policies are of armed agents, basically, of the state, contractors, subcontractors of the state. You don't know what the policies are for these people walking around with guns. confronting residents who are in a vulnerable situation. You don't know what the policies are for them, for their use of force, for their ability or inability or whatever kinds of weaponry they carry. You don't know that. Police, Philadelphia police spokesperson, why the fuck don't you know that? It seems to me it's kind of your job to know that. I hope the folks in Philly stay on top of this and make sure the charges are absolutely brought, because that is an unreasonable escalation in force. And again, force that I'm not even clear that this person, this writ officer, legally has the right to use. But I just can't stand it. Like, I hope that this story continues to make waves, or I hope it makes waves, period. Because you know what, y'all? When agents of the state and even people who are deputized or agents adjacent of the state, when they shoot us and injure us, it's very minor news. Like it makes very, very small waves. Like, I've still yet to see any follow-up surrounding the man in DC that we covered here on this program, Stephen Shaw, the man who was shot in the stomach by Metropolitan Police. He was not the person that the police were looking for. And because he didn't want to subject himself to an unreasonable search because he knew he wasn't the fucking criminal, he got shot in the stomach. I ain't heard no follow up. I don't know what how this man is doing, what's going on. Because it's just accepted that we are the recipients, we are on the receiving end, we are the victims of state violence, and it's normalized. That's why them crackers are so mad about Trump. They so mad about Trump. What you mean? What you mean Trump is indicted? No. That's niggas. That's for niggas. Don't you know? That's for niggas and the Latinos and the nigga Latinos. I'm sorry. My bad. I'm sorry. I cracked myself up for all the wrong things, for all the most inappropriate things. My deepest apologies to everybody. But you understand what I'm saying. And of course, for me personally, you guys know how personally attacked and aggrieved I feel when Black women are attacked. And I mean, there is no consideration for us as women, right? Like we're not viewed. So, and it wouldn't even shock me, by the way, if this writ officer who did the shooting of this Black woman was probably Black themselves. Wouldn't shock me. Would not shock me at all, because we've been very much conditioned and socialized to not even see the humanity within each other, within our own Black brother and sister. It's not uniform, but it's prevalent enough that it doesn't shock me if it were the case. I mean, we saw exactly what happened in Memphis with Tyree Nichols, and what happened down there in Central Virginia with the young man, Mr. Otieno, who was jumped on and smothered to death by a multiracial coalition of alleged second degree murderers. So keep an eye on this story. Infinite Content, thank you so much, Freddie French, for sending it. It's important that we amplify these stories, because the violence against Black women, the misogynoir, is so casual, so normalized. Oh, she was probably being mouthy. Oh, she had a knife. I don't know what the fuck was going on. But all I know is that from the actions described, it sounded as though that writ officer was aggressive, overstepping their bounds, and out of control and doing the most. And I support the couple who stood their ground and would not allow a person to just barge into their home without knowing what their full intentions were, when they could have just left the motherfucking papers right there at the door. Nigga, you ain't got to come in here. You ain't got to come